Hi, I'm Roy. Today, we're going to be talking about Amy Coney Barrett and why she's going to be a disaster on the Supreme Court. Well, let's think of this. Why did the Republicans fast track her appointment onto the Supreme Court? Ask yourself. Well, it can be no other reason than the fact that she's a right wing ideologue who's basically red meat for the Republican base. And the Republicans know that they'll be able to solidify any potential election interference with Amy Coney Barrett's appointment. And the Republicans know that they can steal an election using Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court. Just like Bush v. Gore in 2000, where the Supreme Court basically ruled that they had to stop counting ballots altogether in Florida. Even though, had they recounted all the ballots in Florida, Al Gore would have won not just the popular vote, but the Electoral College. She's basically just a Republican rubber stamp there to solidify their majority on the Supreme Court for decades to come. She's there to make sure the Republicans don't have to worry about laws they don't like and that they can simply rule unconstitutional. She essentially is there to keep their power and to maintain their idea of the status quo. Amy Coney Barrett is essentially their last gasp before what we believe might be a blue wave or a blowout for Democrats in this upcoming election. Think of this. Many people have already voted in the country. Many voters have voted early already, so the Republicans know that it's not looking good for them. And so they assume they're going to lose. They know for sure Trump's going to lose the popular vote. So this is their way of getting one last hurrah in before a potential loss. This is the Republicans' last-ditch effort to keep power in one branch of government. Well, they assume they're going to lose the other two to the Democrats. I mean, you can assume that Republicans don't really care as much. Maybe some Republican politicians care about social issues, but they mostly want to appease their donors. And they use social issues as red meat for their base to keep them happy and keep them voting for them. Republicans mostly want to do the bidding of donors and big money interests. Now that Citizens United is law, they can basically take in as much campaign contributions from corporations as they want. It's all smoke and mirrors, really. Republicans want to use social issues as a front to do the bidding of their donors and to do the bidding of large money interests like big corporations. And they've been doing it for decades. Think of Reagan. He cut taxes and did trickle-down economics, where really he would just use racism and social division as a front to do the bidding of these large corporations and cut taxes. We know now that trickle-down economics was a myth and that it doesn't work. So why are we still debating this? Because it's all a theater. It's all kabuki theater. Republicans really just want to change the narrative and focus more on conservative social issues than the reality of their donors being the real beneficiaries of their policies. They really just want people to distract themselves with these ideological fights rather than focus on who's truly winning right now, and that's the big money interests and large donors and lobbyists in Washington. Republicans know there's a large consensus around issues like Medicare for all, legal marijuana, gun control, but they use this purposely as a means of maintaining power. And back to Amy Coney Barrett. Amy Coney Barrett is basically the Republicans' final attempt to keep their structural majority on the Supreme Court. She's basically the Republicans' Hail Mary pass because they know she's going to uphold their awful policies and cut regulations and, if necessary, steal an election. Is it any wonder why Trump wanted to fast track Amy Coney Barrett right before the election on November 3rd? Not to me. During the Senate Judiciary hearings, she would just give vague answers like, oh, I don't know, or I'm not going to respond to that. I can't rule on a hypothetical. She was worse than Kavanaugh, in my opinion. Kavanaugh, I mean, he was awful, but Amy Coney Barrett just was worse. It was just almost hard to watch, honestly. Sheldon Whitehouse had a good speech on why this is a concerted effort by groups like the Federalist Society to control every aspect of the judicial process. He showed and exposed their game with graphics and visuals, which was really cool. He showed us with visual aids why this is all just smoke and mirrors, why people like those who work in Washington for the Federalist Society and other groups want to control every single aspect of the process in the courts. He showed us that they want to maintain control on every aspect of the court hearings. He showed us that they bring forward many cases to the Supreme Court, and they want to make sure they win those cases, and they purposely lose in the lower district courts. So it goes to the Supreme Court, where they know they have an ally like Amy Coney Barrett. He exposed them for who they truly are. So I give props to Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island for doing that. He basically exposed who these people are and what game they're playing. So if you haven't already, please vote for Joe Biden. I know it won't make a difference on the Supreme Court. Well, not that we know of yet. But if you have any sanity left after these 4 years of Trump, please vote for Joe Biden if you haven't already. And to Joe Biden, I say, please consider packing the Supreme Court. We can't have an ideologue like Amy Coney Barrett there to do the biddings of large corporations and conservative voters. Why would we want to relitigate things like the Affordable Care Act, Obergefell, and Roe v. Wade? These protections were hard fought, and they are appreciated by many people. Why would we want them to be taken away in the snap of a finger by someone like Amy Coney Barrett?